Welcome back to the Break Time University podcast. This is Patrick McMullen, and this is episode 63. And today we're joined by Alan Schaefer. Alan's back to discuss U2, being Claire, and most importantly, that the internet was not a fad. Listen in and enjoy. It's Patrick McMullen, and I am back for another episode with Alan Schaefer from Banding People Together. And we just finished recording a different episode, and I was so pumped up. I almost want to drop an F-bomb because I'm so excited because we're in the break rooms. But Alan, welcome back to Break Time U.
Hey.
And pick a band. What is your band, your favorite band that if you could have played for or been a lead singer for, what would it have been?
I love U2.
Okay.
I love U2.
What's your favorite song?
Ooh. All I Want Is You.
Okay. And have you played that? Oh, here we go. Let's just go right here. I'm going to do a little 80s like that.
Diamonds on a ring of gold. You say you want story to remain untold.
I
sang that at awesome. In the British Virgin Islands at someone's wedding. The day before the wedding, the mother and father of the bride came to me and said, "We'd really love if you would sing tomorrow at the wedding." I thought, sure, no problem. When am I going to sing that? Like when she walks down the aisle, and I was like, oh man. And I didn't know that song, and I learned it. I was never more terrified to perform for an audience. That was more terrifying than doing a national anthem on national television, I promise you, because I was like, I'm going to put this bride in future therapy if I ruin her day. That song. Wow. That's you did a national anthem, a national TV. Which event? A NASCAR race.
Well,
that was an out-of-body experience.
I'm sure if you had messed up, they would have helped you and then took you out back and beat the hell out of you.
You know what? So while we're at it, I'm on an airplane on my way to Indianapolis, and I'm sitting next to this guy, and turns out he's a camera operator for ESPN. He goes, "What are you doing in Indianapolis?" I go, "I'm singing the national anthem." And without missing a beat, he goes, 1 out of 4 people screw that up. I'm like, screw you, dude. What'd I ever do to you? And I will never, ever forget. It was like when they said, "Okay, we're ready for you, Mr. Schaefer." I felt like they were taking me to the gallows to hang me. I'm like, it was just frightening, but also exhilarating. And I will tell you this. I did it because it terrified me. That's really why I did it. I was like, that's hard. First time I'm ever singing it. It's going to be on national television. Holy cow. And I'm terrified, but that's how I'm going to grow. And one way or another, I'll be better on the other side of it. That's it.
And how'd it go?
It went well. It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
Finding it. I'm probably going to put that in and mix it into this.
Oh yeah.
That's amazing. So you did a NASCAR event, and NASCAR is a pretty interesting business study. Folks, see, if you watch the last episode, you learn quickly that Alan has taken his passion and love of music and his career and fueled it into being a global leader in building teams and banding people together. We're going to talk more about that, but NASCAR is an interesting study because there's a business that went boom, leveled off, and just because they don't cater to their audience anymore. So as we were chatting about NASCAR is something that someone could deem that maybe that its peak success was really just a fad. And you have an amazing story from 1995 about a fad that someone.
Oh yes.
Yes. Tell the story because it's fascinating.
So my twin brother, who was the bass player at Five Star Iris, and he was working at the Georgia Tech Research Institute. And one day he comes to me. I was working at Elektra Records doing radio promotion. And he comes to me and he says, I do this research on this thing called the World Wide Web. Again, like 92, 93, early, right? And I go, what is it? He goes, well, they have these things called websites. I'm like, what the hell is a website? He goes, well, you can find stuff. Like what? He goes, well, I was looking for concert information. I couldn't find it. So I want to build one of these websites. I want to call it tourdates.com. I said, man, if you get it, I'm in. If you don't, screw you. That's not the words I use though. So he comes to me one day, goes, I got the name tourdates.com. I'm like, okay. So I quit my job at Elektra Records. He and I Jedi mind tricked my parents into a $30,000 equity line of credit out on their house. And we started tourdates.com. It was a concert information resource. We starved, ultimately had eviction notices. I was broke. I didn't have a car. It was kind of one of those deals. And in 1995, I'm at the NASDAQ International Business Plan competition because Kennesaw State University MBA program took us on as a project to write a business plan. Now, again, music, that was all enabled because I went with my parents who had extra tickets to see Neil Diamond in Atlanta. And we went with some friends of theirs, and this guy who was in the entrepreneurial studies program said, I'd love for you to come tell my professor about what you're doing, this internet thing. And so next thing I know, I had a team of MBAs who wrote a business plan. So we go to the NASDAQ International Business Plan competition and we finished second. And I'm sitting around this table with all these, I don't know, big wig people and like Gray Davis, who was the lieutenant governor at the time, who was also then became the governor, right? All kinds of people. And I'm like, man, you're telling us that our business plan's so great. If it's so great, why'd we finish second? And all of a sudden, this guy at the end of the table almost looked like this stuffy industrialist straight out of Central Casting, like Paper Chase or something who's like, you know, we earn it, and like pocket watch and a vest and all this. He goes, it's your product. And I go, what? He goes, it's, I go, what do you mean it's our product? He goes, this internet thing is a fad. Can you imagine someone telling you this internet thing is a fad? It was not only a fad, thankfully we were acquired by a company called Launch Media that then became part of Yahoo in 2000. And then the good news is we weren't starving anymore, and I was able to take care of the eviction notices.
Well, the reality is this supposed fad and your love of music again fueled this rocket ship that you sold this thing for several $1,000,000.
It was
It's
eight figures.
eight.
And what here's what I'll tell you, and this is no lie, I swear on my mother's life. We're sitting in this, it was around Halloween time in 1999, and we're literally sitting around this big fancy boardroom, and they've taken my twin brother and I around to meet everyone like it's a fraternity rush. Look at these cool band guys. This is the Schaefer twins from these Schaefer brothers from Atlanta, and blah blah blah. And they're just kind of kissing our asses. And then after lunch, we get into this conference room and they bring in the finance guys and they are hammering us. And we're like, and we think your plan is aggressive and we think you're hockey sticking with all this stuff. And I was so pissed off because like I was broke. I was out of money. Like I didn't have another credit card to work after this. I was sleeping in a shitty little hotel. Like the consultants we had to put up at a decent hotel. Like we were on our last legs. And I promise you, these exact words spoken, I go, well, you asked us here for a reason. So if you're feeling froggy, go ahead and jump. Can you imagine that in a business setting? Talk about not giving a damn. I was going Johnny Cash style. And then guy looks down. The other guy gives him a nod and says, we're prepared to offer you X for your company. And I'm sitting there trying to play it cool because I was just broke. But again, it wasn't overnight. You know, we were kind of starving for, I don't know, 7 years. And you know, as an entrepreneur, these things don't happen overnight.
Yeah, no.
Like eating the blowfish. They were 10-year overnight sensation. They were slugging it out and then until they weren't.
And it goes back to something that I'm going to go back to the last episode. You got to do things so work doesn't suck. So part of you and what you've done is in banding people together and building tourdates.com is you made work not suck. What got you through those tough times? what's something as a, let's face it, we're going through some dynamic times in our country with the fires in LA, and we're going to have that we just went through this dynamic election and all these things that are changing. And whether, no matter where people think politically, the reality is lots of things are going to happen. Yeah, what's something that you did back during that time to keep you going? Because as everybody heard, you started pretty much 1992, 1993,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
fast forward to end of 99 into 2000, and you're living on ramen noodles and bad hotels. What kept you going, Alan? What made work not suck?
I will tell you this, whether I was delusional or not, I just believed. And it's one of my favorite things. And some of the work that we do with the kind of our larger global organization partners, the change work and stuff that we do, I tell leaders, and they always look at me kind of funny, but I know it feels good for their minds. I go, we're going to build you a belief layer. We're going to give you a belief strategy, because there's all these things in your organization and just on a human to human level that are making it very easy for people to not believe. And so in a lot of cases, we have a tendency to improve ourselves by adding. And there's a really great book called The Friction Project. And the Friction Project says something that I've loved forever. It's called addition by subtraction. You add by subtracting, you're taking things away. You're taking things away, and that's how you optimize. So that, it's no different than what a sound engineer does at a concert when there's squealing feedback. They're taking out things so you can hear the things you want to hear. They're not making other things louder. Like when you can't hear the vocal, they don't turn up the vocal louder. They take something else away so that vocal sits in the space, right? Clarity. Clarity, clarity, clarity. That is really the lifeblood of everything.
That's well, in going back to, as you said, is just a simple belief. And the reality is, what I did a blog post the other day that just talks about changing 80% of what you hear is that voice inside your head.
Uh,
And if you're going to get anywhere in life, that thing's got to be positive. And as I look at 2025, my goals, if you and I have chatted about this right at the beginning of the last episode, if you're either in the boat rowing with me or you're out, because I know where we're going and you did too. And that's
yeah,
part of your piece. So let's kind of talk a little bit about, and fast forward to your banding people together and what you're doing. What are some of the lessons from that period of building tour dates that you now apply today, that you band people together? What are some of the lessons? What would you teach someone like
I
coming
will.
to other companies?
Yeah, well, I will tell you this. You asked me on the last episode about mentors, and I've been really fortunate to have many of them. But there was one in particular that helped me really, really reframe something. Um, and a guy named Michael Simonetto, and he founded the pricing and profitability practice at Deloitte. Huge, one of the biggest consulting firms in the world.
Yeah, but
And I met him
few
in
employees.
Atlanta, like walking the dog. And so, I meet this guy at the mailbox. And you know what's crazy? I just somehow knew that he had some piece of the knowledge puzzle that I needed to understand. And I can't explain to you why, but I have somehow have this weird spidey sense. It's almost a superpower. I know when I come across someone that's got a missing piece that I need to help, move forward a little bit. And I chased this guy for 8 months. And finally, he agreed to meet with me, like really meet with me. And so I meet with him and I tell him what's going on. And then next thing I know, we have a few sessions of just hanging out. And next thing I know, I'm sitting around in his beautiful house, the chief academic officer at provost for UNC Chapel Hill, who had, a master's or doctorate in organizational development, the head of Deloitte's consumer packaged goods practice, and the head of their technology practice. And I'm sitting around with all these gentlemen, and all of a sudden he says, "Okay, kid, you're on." And I'm like, it's like, I mean, it was so crazy. And on the other side of that, he takes me to lunch and he said, and I offer this humbly, just, he said, I don't want to own anything. I don't want to invest anything. I just want to be a thought partner, and I want to help you get to there faster, because I think you're onto something, and I think you're going to help change the workplace as we know it, and it's going to be for the better. And I just want to help connect your thinking to the environment that you're about to be in a way that I think there's a gap. And his whole thing was, along the way is like, Alan, you have this unrealistic expectation that people can see what you see. And it is your job, and only your job, to provide them the clarity, the narrative, the wordsmithing, whatever, the story, to bring them along so they can see what you see. And I was like, I like them apples.
In my life, as when I've led different things, and what you just said there, it's our job to take our vision and bring it into reality so that people understand it, comprehend it, want to do it. Because it's one thing for me to have this vision, but it's another thing to get people to want to buy in. And as you said, I just circled that as often enough, we as leaders, we're not clear. We want people to believe everything and that it should be easy, when a lot of times it's just not. So think about one of these organizations and the companies you've worked for. What's one of the biggest challenges, and how have you overcome it using Michael's teachings and clarity? Give an example, or just a person, something that maybe people today should just apply and adapt.
Well, I'll tell you, on a daily basis, from a kind of communication and friction perspective, we really believe that words matter, right? And we all make this claim that we're good communicators, but we're not all really taught how to communicate with clarity. And I had a leader recently who was just really, really upset. He's trying to grow. He's trying to bring his organization, and he's got 3 directors that they're just not getting it, right? They're just not getting. I'm trying to get them to the next one, but they're not getting it. And there's a lot of that. I've told you 1,000 times. How do you not know that kind of thing? And in this particular case, and this was not very long ago, this gentleman is completely twisted because one of his directors is supposed to deliver him something on a Tuesday morning for him to present to some very important people in the organization. And it didn't happen. And so it's World War III, DEFCON 5, whatever it is. And so I got on my call with this gentleman. I said, all right, I got a question for you. So you blew up and you had this whole narrative about this person because they didn't deliver this thing first thing Tuesday morning. I said, tell me, what does first thing Tuesday morning mean to you? And he looked at me. He goes, what's first thing? I go, well, I don't know, man. If you're a real early morning person, that could be 5:30 in the a.m. If you're a slacker band dude who's had a hard night, first thing in the morning might be 10 a.m. or noon. So first of all, if I'm representing your director in the court of decency and public opinion, I'm going to suggest that you did not provide the clarity that he needed. And so this kind of thing that's going on, this little micro transgression, is part of a larger reason why you aren't bringing people along with you. And what we've learned in the data and the research is we don't bring people along for different reasons. Sometimes someone can't understand us. I have a friend that's a vice president of technology for a major communications company that presented to her peers, and the feedback she got was, well, she was confident. Now, she had some understandable concern going, well, would a man have gotten that feedback? Maybe yes, maybe no. But what I shared with her, I said, look, in your wiring, your clarity might be a moving target. You speak very conceptually. So these people couldn't really follow you where you were trying to take them with this technology conversation. And this is what's important. I hope everyone soaks this in watching. When there is a lack of clarity, the brain fires from the same place as mistrust. So when someone's speaking to a way that we can't get on board, understand, follow, it's not that we overtly mistrust them. Our brain is fighting. Our brain is lighting up as the same thing as someone who just lied to you. Soak that in. That's
One
the kind
most
of thing
powerful
that we
things
get.
that's a very powerful lesson, because I mean, we all are wired differently, but there are some things that are medically proven. And knowing that lack of clarity parks in the same area as mistrust, dishonest, lying,
It's crazy.
it is crazy. And it comes back to is you're almost 100% of the time not going to win if that's where you are. And
Exactly right.
that's might be one of the most powerful lessons that we can take, because I mean, we're nearing the end of this segment, and it's that infamous break time minute. I'm going to make you sing again impromptu to wrap up for what I'm about to do. Folks, if you didn't watch the last episode, you're going to see something you've never seen before. uh, at end of every Break Time U podcast episode, we have what's called the Break Time Minute. What did Patrick or Christy or Rob, what did we take out of this episode? And that is it right there. I'd never heard that, but it's certainly, that's eye-opening that that is the case, where if you are not clear in your vision, if I'm not clear that, hey, first thing in the morning means I need it by 9 a.m., not just open-ended, it may explain for a lot of folks why you are where you are in life. And
Yeah.
it's hard to understand so many different people that they just don't get that. And as you just also said there, words matter.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not specific, you don't put deadlines. To me, anything without a deadline is not doing. But first thing in the morning should be, no, I need it by 9 a.m. So
100%. It's the easiest move in the world to mitigate the risk of friction. Also, for those of you watching, if you use the word ASAP, it's useless in the clarity game. If you say to someone that you need something ASAP and they don't give it to you in the time that you need it, and you are somebody that's going, but they knew how important it was, and they knew it was urgent, and they knew I needed to get it, whatever, I'm going to say, bless your heart.
so words matter. So
Yeah.
I'm going to wrap it up here. So I'm going to have you get your guitar, because folks,
Oh,
just so
boy.
you know, Alan's also he's a lead singer in a band.
Oh my goodness.
And he's going to warm up here he's got band practice tonight. So he's going to warm up as I wrap this thing up, and he's going to take it home and summarize everything I just said. But again, clarity. If you're not clear, you are taking your thoughts and putting them in the same part of that brain of mistrust, dishonesty, lying. And the reality is, if you're not where you are in life, think about that fact. So, Alan, summarize that in a wonderful musical tune.
Because clarity is all we got. Remember that. Clarity is all we got. I don't mind when my dog runs away. No, I'm not going to do that in Southern California way. Clarity is the lifeblood of optimization and the path to harmony. If you want to bring people along, you just got to make sure they know what the hell you're talking about and don't take it for granted. And if you don't know, and if you're not sure, just ask.
Folks, that wraps this episode. Alan, I can't wait to have you back for more on Break Time U, and folks across the country can see you. Any break room on Break Time TV, visit breaktimeu.com to catch all of our episodes. Alan, where can they catch you?
You can catch me on LinkedIn, just Alan Schaefer, AlanSchaefer. Hit me there. Please connect with me there. You can also find us at bandingpeopletogether.com. And my email is Alan, ALAN, spelled the right way, at bandingpt.com. And I will answer your email. Please say hello. If you put break time, I'll put it to the top of the stack and make sure that I get back to you.